Vietnam, the Central Highlands, just south of the DMZ. The United States military has decided to build fortified fire bases in heavily controlled enemy territory. Yesterday, what was just another long stretch of jungle is now Firebase Alpha 1. Our troops will set up reconnaissance patrols around the base and try to get the local villages and hamlets to assist us in finding the enemy. The strategy is designed to get Charlie to come out and fight. So far, the bases around the DMZ have been active. This will be the start of my second tour in country. I've been assigned to a SOG team operating out of the base. It's a top-secret unit operating well behind enemy lines, on missions that no one can know about. This is going to be one hell of a year.
The chopper flight to Firebase Alpha 1 was anything but uneventful. As we neared the base, the Huey started taking ground fire. As the pilot started to gain some altitude, an enemy machine gun shot through the control panel and wounded the pilot. The co-pilot fought with the controls as we skimmed over hilltops and trees. I remember thinking, if we could slow down enough, I could at least make a jump for it. Suddenly, the helicopter banked and hung in the air about 10 feet off the side of the hill, and out the door I went. Once I hit the ground and came to a stop, I could see the column of smoke from the crash site beyond the next ridge. I found that I still had my knife and a .45 automatic. The rest of my gear was gone. I had to get to that crash site and see what I could do in case there were any survivors. I should also take out the machine gun nest that shot us down. There was no way I could leave that standing for another American chopper to discover. Way towards the downed helicopter, evading and killing VC along the way. At the crash site, I found the crew dead. Over the radio, I heard that the co-pilot was captured and an alternate LZ was being set up. There was no way I was going to leave that co-pilot in VC hands. The co-pilot did a good job of slowing his captors down, allowing me to gain on them pretty quick. A couple of times they stopped and took cover as other helicopters flew over. Our men from Alpha 1 base were on the way to the crash site. The VC didn't have much time before our hatchet force from the base would start sweeping the area for the co-pilot. The enemy picked up the pace, pulling along and dragging the airmen. I could hear their voices as they yelled in broken English at the co-pilot to keep moving or die. I knew I had to rescue him and get him to the LZ. There was no way I was going to leave him in enemy hands. Kept on the trail of the VC. As I made my way through a field, I saw the ruins of an old French missionary. The enemy were headed for the ruined buildings, dragging the injured co-pilot along. Slowly, I made my way to the ruins and took the VC out. The remaining VC decided to attack our helicopter at the extraction point. We were able to secure the area after a brief gun battle. Other than some broken ribs, loose teeth, and a bunch of cuts, the co-pilot was in pretty good shape. He'd even had the balls to ask me, "What took you so long?" Finally settled in at Firebase Alpha 1, I was given my first mission. A local Mountain Yard village chieftain showed up at the base pleading for help. The old man told us that the VC were terrorizing his village, stealing food, kidnapping young men, beating people. The enemy always tried to make peace with the villagers at first, but as soon as the Mountain Yard elders said no, the intimidation and terror began. The old man told us that the VC would be returning to his village tomorrow night with some documents we would be interested in. The Alpha 1 Firebase CO thought we should be there to say hello and introduce them to my new M21 sniper rifle. After all, I needed to break this M21 in. I lost my old one back in the Huey crash. After my objective is complete, I should head back along the river to the extraction point. Hopefully it will be an easy evac. Like clockwork, the enemy was eliminated in the village. One of the VCs seemed to be a North Vietnamese political officer, probably someone of importance in the Northern Communists. We gathered up some important documents and began to return to base. As we proceeded to the extraction point, we ran into an enemy patrol of VC that fought us along the river for every step we took. Eventually, we made it to the extraction point, but it was too hot for a safe evac. Getting back to the firebase wouldn't be so easy now. The fact that we found an NVA political officer and a bunch of documents told me we had stumbled onto something important. It was urgent that this information get back to base right away. However, Charlie was out to stop us. They didn't want us returning with those documents. We had been vectored to an alternate LZ where we can be picked up, but we're going to have to fight our way out there. We have one advantage over Charlie. Night is falling, and I had enough foresight to pack a starlight scope. It was going to be a long night. Time to get back to base with the documents we found in the village. The enemy knew we were on our way to the firebase and were out to stop us. They wanted some payback for offing their NVA political officer. Once we returned to our firebase, our intelligence officer looked over the papers. He didn't like what he read. The NVA were moving into our area. The enemy was up to something big, that was for sure. Saigon was so interested, they sent a chopper out to pick up the documents within a few hours. We sent out a hatchet force to protect the village until we could relocate them closer to the firebase. The chief thanked us numerous times and gave my spotter and I gifts, bracelets woven out of elephant's hair. This was a sign of friendship from his people.
The area around our firebase is becoming more active with each passing day. The documents we found on the VC also confirm this. More and more of the enemy have moved into our sector. Every few nights they harass our base with mortar and machine gun fire. The attacks are quick, usually lasting only a few minutes, but they've become a regular occurrence. Rumors around the base have also increased. A VC sympathizer was found pacing off distances between our bunkers. No doubt those distance measurements would have been used to help Charlie pinpoint their mortars right on top of us. Tension is rising. Everyone is on edge.
After careful analysis of the documents by intelligence officers in Saigon, some of the recent VC activities in the area have started to make more sense. The documents specify the exact location of the local VC headquarters. However, the entire area is trapped. There's a villager who once a week brings in communications and intelligence. I need to follow her and keep her in sight. She will lead me through the traps and allow me to eliminate the VC officer. That should screw up Charlie's plans for the short term. With a VC officer eliminated, it looks like the enemy will have to put whatever plans they had on hold for a while. Our recon teams across the border in Laos are finding more and more signs that the NVA are building up forces in our area. One of the recon teams was shot up pretty bad, but made it back to base with 4 wounded. The village chief has sent over volunteers to replace the 4 recon team members that were hurt. He's very thankful for all the help we've given him. Turns out the old chief fought with the French Special Forces in the 1950s. Even had his medals and an old French bolt-action rifle to prove it. Intel has a new mission for us, destroying a small NVA truck convoy. This will be my first mission over the fence into Laos. The plan is to utilize a Vietnamese SOG Roadrunner operative disguised as a villager. As the trucks come down the road, the operative will block the road, pretending that there was some kind of accident. While the trucks are stopped, a demolition specialist and I will take out the drivers and enemy soldiers. After that, we should destroy all 3 vehicles in the convoy and make our way to the extraction point. The Vietnamese Roadrunner operative was able to successfully stop the trucks. It was satisfying to see them go up in flames, while the VC and NVA searched the surrounding jungle for us. The resupply of the enemy in this sector will be harder for them to accomplish now. Running truck convoys just got a bit more dangerous. With enemy activity increasing in the area, I get to spend a night out in the woods looking for Victor Charlie. My spotter and I have been ordered to take out a couple of trails that intelligence believes the enemy is using. It's time to make like a ghost and disappear into the jungle. We'll make the VC and NVA afraid of the dark. The enemy found out that darkness offers no safety. From what I've heard, the VC have put a price on my head. I'm officially wanted dead or alive, but mostly dead. It's an indication that I'm doing my job correctly and keeping the enemy on their toes. One of the recon teams captured an enemy soldier in Laos and brought him back alive. The captured soldier pinpointed a supply depot hidden in a small box canyon. While the recon team gets their week's R&R pass to Thailand, I get to go out and scout ground for an enemy supply depot. My job is to find the depot and call in an airstrike. I guess it beats sitting around here filling sandbags. We called in the coordinates to Foxtrot 29er, our forward air command orbiting overhead, and the fast movers came in. Those jet jockeys pickled their bombs right on target. The fighter aircraft informed me of an enemy patrol headed right for our location. I ran into them not long after and fought the enemy all the way back to base. Every indication is pointing to Charlie getting ready for something big. They're coming out to fight us more and more frequently. The firebase seems to have attracted their attention. One of the village woodcutters ran across 3 VC spotter outposts near the base. Looks like the enemy is interested in keeping an eye on our comings and goings. No wonder some of our recon teams were hit right after they landed. The enemy would radio an alert soon as the choppers took off and headed toward Laos. My spotter and I get the privilege of taking out these enemy outposts before they do any more damage. The enemy outposts were tough to find, but we found them. I couldn't help wondering as I walked through the jungle if they had been tipped off to our presence. Now that the outposts are out of commission, our recon team should have a better go at things in Laos. Looks like the enemy has decided to make our lives more miserable at Firebase Alpha 1. The VC and NVA have moved in heavy machine guns on some of the hills around the base in order to shoot down our choppers. Occasionally they also fire those 12.7mm guns into the base itself to keep our heads down. The problem is that the VC and NVA keep moving the guns around, making it hard for our attack aircraft to knock them out. Spike and Hatchet force patrols have been sent out to locate them while I get to stake out a couple of places with a spotter. While we were waiting around for the mission green light, one of the supply choppers was hit and crashed about a click away. We were ordered to vector to the crash site to rescue anyone still alive. Once we destroy the guns and get to the crash site, we will need to radio the situation to base for evac. Alpha 1 wants to know what's going on with our downed bird. The hard part wasn't so much finding the mobile gun emplacements or the crash site. It was evading all the VC and NVA. The place seemed to be crawling with them. The Spike and Hatchet force patrols had some serious gun battles with large groups of the enemy. It's pretty clear that our fortified firebase is becoming a major thorn in the enemy's side, and they want it removed. One of the Hatchet teams brought back a prisoner. It didn't take long for him to spill his guts and tell us the location of an enemy base camp. We were practically standing on it. There was a tunnel complex underneath one of the nearby hills. It was time to do tunnel exploration, just like back home. Well, sort of. At home, the caves weren't full of heavily armed communists. No one looks forward to crawling around in a cave full of hardcore, well-armed communists, even me. One of the village woodcutters pinpointed a number of likely cave entrances, so several tunnel rat teams were formed and sent to investigate each entrance. I could only imagine what was waiting for us in those caves. and none of it was good. It smelled like a grave or a latrine or both. VC cave complexes are full of nasty surprises, but as we went further through the complex, we didn't find any. We set our charges and moved on. Boom went the caves, and mission complete for us. Suddenly, the radio came to life. The base was under attack. Firebase Alpha 1 is under attack by a large number of VC and NVA. Making it all the more difficult is that surrounding area is fogged in, and that means no air support or evac until the visibility gets better. My spotter and I picked up our gear and started back to base. If there was going to be a fight, we sure wanted a piece of the action. Way back to base, we came across swarms of VC and NVA in the jungle. It seemed like every tree had a rifleman behind it. We made it back to the base perimeter, taking out VC and NVA as we moved. By the look and sound of things, the enemy really shelled the base with RPGs, mortars, and heavy machine gun fire. All we had to do was hold the fortified hilltop until the fog lifted. Then Charlie was dead meat for our attack aircraft. The Mountain Yard village was destroyed by the enemy, but many of the villagers made it to safety at our base. The VC and NVA burned and looted the village, killing anyone they found. The old man held his ground and took out a few of the enemy with his old French rifle before being cut down. Once the fog lifted, our attack aircraft, Spike and Hatchet forces picked off any VC and NVA stragglers. As I sat on my bunker and looked out over the ruins of the village, I knew that this wasn't the last fight for freedom in this little part of Vietnam. It was just the beginning.
I'm leaving the firebase for 3 days of R&R. As I stare out of the helicopter door, I keep thinking one thing over and over in my mind. The Mountain Yard village that had stood for hundreds of years was completely destroyed in the attack. I remember the chief giving me the elephant ear bracelet out of friendship to his people. Our soldiers will help them rebuild their homes. Protecting those villagers is what this war is all about. Somehow I want to believe that we are helping to win this war. That the battle that we've won here has made a difference. I will never forget this place.